Shields up, Iron Breakers, Rurikhan here, and Globku. Today, we're gathered here today, and I've already messed up this intro completely.
We have gathered here today
We're
to
gathered
celebrate
here
the
today.
union between Globku, Rurikhan, and Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball
Praised
Fighters.
be the Lord.
Dragon Ball Fighters is going to be coming out at some point. It's next year, right?
Yes, early 2018. Actually, February.
February,
I think they
right?
confirmed this Gamescom.
Yeah, I've seen the February date, and we got to play it at Gamescom this year, and I actually think it's safe to say it's probably the game we played the most because we spent a lot of time in the Bandai Namco booth, and pretty much in between interviews, in between presentations, we just like, oh, let's go to the stations and play some more Dragon Ball Fighters.
Let's play the fun game. Let's do that. Let's play the fun game.
So yeah, I guess it's safe to say that both of us greatly enjoyed Dragon Ball Fighters. You guys are watching some gameplay right now. I would say in the background, but it's more in the foreground than anything. And today I brought Globku over because Globku knows way more about fighting games than I do. I'm just a button
Oh,
masher.
I thought you just enjoyed my company, so that's what I'm doing here today.
No, you're the specialist. I hate your company, dude. I had enough of your company in the week that we're in Gamescom. No, in all seriousness, you've been following this game for quite some time now. You've been like analyzing the movesets of every single character and all that stuff. What's been your favorite thing about this game, Globku? Tell us all about it.
I think the fact that it's a 3v3, it's a good Marvel vs. Capcom substitute in a year that Marvel vs. Capcom seems to be a bit weaker than usual. And it's using characters that we all know so well, which are the Dragon Ball characters. So it's like the perfect mix in a way. And it's done by a developer with a pedigree in fighting games.
Yeah.
It's like all the small pieces have come into a perfect harmony, and this game was born.
Ooh. I think it is important to mention, however, that even though it has some similarities with Marvel vs. Capcom, it's not quite the same like infinite combo system that, because usually you see people playing Marvel vs. Capcom, it's like, oh, he landed the first combo, I guess I'll just put the controller down now, and that's that.
It's hard to say. That was definitely in the E3 build. That was a combo they could do with Frieza, I believe. You would only spend 1 bar of meter, and you would do an 80% damage combo. But they've rebalanced the game in a way that that's not possible anymore. But who knows what will be possible in the final game by the time that comes out. Yeah.
So the very first,
there are definitely long combos.
yeah, there are some long combos, but I don't think it's as easy to pull off just like lifelong meter combos every single time like you do in Marvel vs. Capcom. But the other thing that I wanted to bring up, because I think it's one of the first things that people will notice when oh my god, I'm watching the gameplay that's going on right now, and it's the one where I fucked up 7 bars.
Here's 7 bars a meter.
They're gone now, and I achieved absolutely nothing with them. But anyway, as I was saying, I think one of the first things that people are going to notice is the very unique art style, which, I mean, I say unique. This art style has been somewhat used in Guilty Gear, was it? What version of Guilty Gear was that? Because
yeah, Sign and Exert, they kind of all look very similar.
yeah, and it has a very interesting art style where it's like when you're fighting, the characters themselves are pretty much like sprites, but then in between the some of the special moves that you can do with the characters, they actually go like 3D. They spin the camera around and all that stuff, and it looks really, really nice. Like, what's your take on that?
It's one of the best looking games I've ever seen, without a doubt. And they're so faithful in their animations to the original material that some people have actually like made full videos recreating, okay, here's where this move is from in the manga, and here's the manga picture overlaid on top of the game, and it's like a perfect match. And it's like all the characters receive that treatment from the biggest things like their level 3 supers, their special attacks, to the smallest things like the hand-to-hand combos, even like the smallest punches and kicks. They've taken all that stuff from the manga and applied it to this style, which is such a good looking game. And I think this is the reason why so many people are like, oh, I wish this character was playable or this character was playable, because this is probably their only chance at seeing their favorite characters with this graphics.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people mad that Android 17, for instance, he's not really a playable character. He's like an assist to Android 18. So everyone who has 17 as his favorite character is kind of bummed out. But it's gorgeous. It's just really beautiful. And I think we've all seen trailers. We've all been mesmerized by this game until you see a high bit rate video or the actual game in front of you.
You don't
It's
even know. You have no
yeah,
idea. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
You've,
like
you've only experienced a small part of it so far.
the
It looks even better in person. Yeah.
the seamless transitions from the 2D to the 3D, because a lot of people might just think, oh, it's 2.5D, but it's not. It's not like that at all. Like you might consider, oh, it's kind of like Street Fighter 5, and no. When you're fighting, it's real 2D, and then it swaps over to 3D so seamlessly that it's just I can't even describe it. And
I mean, that is the definition of 2.5D. It's you're fighting on a 2D plane, and that doesn't change no matter what you're doing. It's just animations and the actual designs and the background. It's all rendered in 3D. So when people say 2.5D, they're actually not wrong.
but it's just like it's weird to explain. Again, it's like it's such a unique type of art style that it's weird to explain to actually put into words. Like we said, you have to see it for yourself to really experience it and get a feel for what the visuals look like. So the other thing that I wanted to bring up specifically the visuals is that, in my opinion, from what I haven't watched the entirety of Super. I'm not caught up to Dragon Ball Super up until this point. But like I would say that these visuals actually look better than a lot of the episodes on Super. Specifically, the Frieza fight on Super, I thought it was atrocious. The animation there, I did not care for that, and I didn't like it very much. But this on the game, it looks fucking fantastic.
I won't argue with that.
The other thing I usually like to bring up is sounds as well. Although sounds, it's kind of hard to talk too much about sounds really because that is still very much something that is subject to change. You were telling me before we started this stream that the announcer just does not shut up at all.
Yeah, in this build, like the E3 build, he wasn't like this at all. The E3 build is the one they took to Evo, where they had their the first Dragon Ball FighterZ tournament with only 6 characters. And in this, the Gamescom build, if you watch some raw gameplay, the announcer will not shut up. It's like counter. It's they need to tone it down, or everyone's going to be turning the announcer off. It's really annoying. But everything else, I mean, the sound of key blasts, the sound of hits, like you feel the sound design when you land a heavy hit is exactly what you expect it to be, and that's awesome.
Yeah, so I thought the sound's pretty good too, and the music as well keeps up with the action. It keeps the pace flowing nicely.
It's an important thing to mention the music though, because there are a lot of fans looking for Dragon Ball music in this game, and so far it doesn't seem like we're getting that.
Yeah,
We're getting original songs that fit the ambience very well, but for some fans, the original music is a big selling point, and I don't think we're getting that.
yeah. To be honest, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because like I think the music in a game like this is important to like keep the pace more so than necessarily be faithful to like the original series. Because like the pacing of the fights here is not like the pacing of a fight in actual Dragon Ball, where it's like, hey, let's all stop for a while and talk about how powerful we are for about 5 minutes. Okay, let's keep fighting. In this game, it's more like let's fight and fight and fight some more. So you can't really build up that kind of like crescendo like you do in the series. Therefore, I do think it is important to swap the music for more action-based tunes to keep the rhythm going. So we talked about the visuals, we talked about the sound. I think it's about time that we talk about the actual gameplay, the experience, the responsiveness of the controls and all that. Before we get into that, I did want to mention that for those of you who aren't aware, this game is being developed by Arc Systems, who are the people behind Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear. And for those of you that haven't played those games, those are some really good like fighting games, even though I gotta be honest, I haven't played a whole lot of them, but they are extremely deep and complex when it comes to actually learning how to play characters in those games and actually becoming good at them, playing online and doing all of that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they also have the best fighting game tutorials that I've ever seen. They take you from the very basics to specific character challenges. So While in most fighting games you would have to look outside of the game to get good, like you'd have to look up combos on YouTube or some tips videos. Guilty Gear in specific, because that's the one I played. I never played BlazBlue. But Guilty Gear in specific, you can do that whole thing inside the game, from the very basics to very, very complicated combos. That's something I hope this game brings to the table as well. But yeah, very tight, very precise timing games, fast paced as well. And But they're one-on-one fighters. They're not three-on-three fighters. They're very good games if you want to get used to some of the mechanics that are present in this game, stuff like air dashes, push block, specific stuff that I don't know how many of you guys are into fighting games,
Yeah.
but it's a hardcore fighting game. So there are a lot of specific terms thrown around when you talk about, hardcore fighting games. But if you're looking forward to this game and you can't wait for a beta or for the release of this game, you want to start practicing right now. I'd say Guilty Gear is a good place to start, without a doubt, because the feel of individual characters is very similar. The thing is, they added a 3v3 component, which isn't a whole other monster to tackle. But Guilty Gear will get you started.
Yeah, and the 3v3 component is an interesting thing because it does allow you to basically like try to form up your dream team of fighters in Dragon Ball and like pairing them up together to try and do. There are some combos that like use multiple characters from your roster of choices. Like I've seen you do a couple of combos. I think it was Android 18 where she would pull up somebody else from the roster, and if that somebody else is not there, she would usually pull up Android 17. So those were some pretty cool moves as well.
So Android 18 is kind of a unique character because she always fights with Android 17. They're the twins. So there are some special attacks that you can perform that bring Android 17 into the table. She's not a very strong character on her own. Her unique thing is really the extra character she brings along. And when you have Krillin and he's alive in your team, instead of bringing out Android 17, she brings out Krillin. So that's the main difference because they're together in Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah.
So
not just Super. They've been together since forever, dude. What the hell are you talking?
Dragon Ball Z. That's true. That's true.
I think
Super. You see more of the family core. That's why I associate with Super.
I think it's actually fun as well when you have Android 18 fighting against Krillin. It's basically a case of domestic violence.
Or when this whole game is domestic violence.
Yeah, pretty
you have
much.
Trunks and Vegeta.
You have Goku and Gohan.
Yeah.
Abusive parents beating on their kids. Oh man, I shouldn't be making jokes about this. People are going to take me literally. Anyway, we were also talking about how it's an important thing that Dragon Ball brings in a very not just competitive fighting gamers, but also gamers who are a little bit more casual with fighting games because there's just like a lot of Dragon Ball fans. So we were talking about before this stream as well, the casual audience versus the competitive audience and how that's going to like clash. It was also important because you did a question during that interview where you were talking about the stylish mode versus the technical mode in Guilty Gear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how...
So for those that don't know, Guilty Gear, before you head into combat, you can choose your fighting style to be technical or stylish. Basically, stylish lets you mash some buttons and the character will do some combos, but there's a penalty of like 10% damage or so. And then technical, it's all manual combos, very tough to execute for beginners. But if you just want to get in and have some fun, you can choose stylish and go nuts. And the question here was, there are auto combos in this build and the previous build as well. There are two auto combos. You mash square for one auto combo. You mash triangle for the other auto combo. Some characters only have one of them. So others have both. And my question was, okay, so do you have a stylish and a technical option like Guilty Gear? Or are the auto combos on at all times? And apparently they will be on at all times. But there are still manual combos and they're pulling in the depth from the 3v3 aspect of the game. Because no auto combos can link you into different characters. You might do a big combo that ends with a super, but if you do a manual combo and you know what you're doing, you can pull off a bigger combo and deal even more damage and potentially even bring other characters to finish your combo.
So they're going for a bit of a hybrid mode. It's not everything is not auto, so it does allow players to like more casual players to do some cool moves like I did because I'm very much casual in fighting games. while still rewarding the more experienced players who choose to do combos a little bit more manually and bring in different characters and stuff like that to become better fighters. And that's going to be a bit of an interesting thing to see how that develops on the competitive scene, because this is, as we were discussing, probably one of the Dragon Ball fighting games that has the most potential to enter the scene at Evo and those kinds of like fighting tournaments and whatnot.
Yeah, especially because it doesn't seem to be a very good year for Marvel versus Capcom. The reception so far, obviously, the game isn't out. It only comes out next month or in a couple of weeks, I think. But so far, the reception hasn't been super positive. It's gotten very mixed feelings, and this game it's been all hype all the time. So this might very well substitute that place in Evo, for sure.
Well, we'll definitely be looking forward to that. I know that I can't wait to get my hands on this, even if I'm just a casual. I just want to be able to do the big ass key blasts and just blow people away, and then eventually get my ass kicked by you, which is what was happening the more and more we played, because you were getting to grips with the controls, which was very frustrating. But at the start, it was very fun. When we were still kind of like on equal ground, that was fun. And then you started just like going further and further away, and I was like, okay.
I was surprised at so I've been covering this game for months now, ever since it was announced. And I was very surprised at how little I knew on how to play it when I got my hands on it. I'm like, okay, I can't just do the things that I thought I would be able to. Cause and I've played Guilty Gear, you know, and the feeling of each character in terms of speed, in terms of how combos work, you can get used to it. But I wasn't okay, so this I can't combo this into this looked easier than it actually is. And so yeah, at the beginning I had to sort of stop and relearn the whole thing. For sure.
And to get people a little bit more comfortable, and just to give a little bit of feedback as to some of the basic controls even on Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's like the most of the specials, or I think maybe even all of the specials that like use the special gauge, they're all pretty much down forward and down backward, right? So it's kind of like just Hadouken and spinning kicks, and depending on which
few down key blast or down attack. There are a few attacks like that, but most of the special moves and super moves motions are very, very simple to execute. So it's not about executing difficult motions. It's about when to do them, or when to link them into a combo, how to use your special bar.
So knowing like the move set of your character is more important than knowing like the combinations of down forward or spin the controller all the way around or a half moon backwards with forward thing. It's like it's more about knowing the move set and when to press the buttons than necessarily like, oh, I have to memorize all of these complex like button presses and stuff like that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, guys, this is pretty much what I had planned for us to just talk about Dragon Ball FighterZ. I have an interview coming up, which is the interview that Globku did to Hiroki Tomoko, who is the game producer. We're going to be queuing that up next. But before that, you guys make sure that you check out Globku's projects. I have links for both his personal project of Magical Noob as well as the TGA anime project, which are heading right now. All those links. What?
TGN.
I said TGN anime project.
Is that TGA anime? The hell's a TGA?
Did I say TGA?
Yeah.
The TGN anime project. Both those links are in the description below. Make sure to check those out. Globku is awesome, and thank you very much for hanging out with me, Globku. You're awesome.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks. Hey, are we doing this for Naruto, or are you not doing Naruto?
I don't know. We'll have to see because of the subtitles, dude. That thing's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm queuing up the interview. Thank you very much, Globku.
Bye.
次はどのキャラクターが出てくるんですかっていうの
So
は
the most frequent question that we receive is, I would guess, which character is coming up next. I completely understand that because of the visuals that we have, especially the Dragon Ball fans are really hoping that they'll be able to play with their favorite character with the graphics of Dragon Ball Fighters. But so I'm always feeling a bit sorry that we're not able to give out details, but we hope users will look forward to further information on that.
そうですね、まず一つは、なぜ17号がプレイヤブルではなくっていう形、こういう形で入ったのかっていうところなんですけど、今回はやっぱ格闘ゲームなので最初から決めていたのはどうしても同じような体型とか同じような技を持っているっていうキャラクターが2人いてしまうと、どうしても個性が目立たなくなってしまうっていうところがあったので、17号
So since it is a fighting game, what we decided from start is that we didn't want to include characters that fight too similar or look too similar. And obviously since Android 17 and 18 are twins, we didn't want to include both of those characters. So we wanted at least one character to be playable. And since there's not that many female characters, we kind of decided to have Android 18 become the main and have Android 17 support her as one of her attacks. And as for the comments that we received from users, true, we did receive a lot of voices from fans saying that they wanted to have Android 17 a playable character, especially because of the way he's shown in the latest episodes of Dragon Ball Super. But in a way, I think that the fact that Android 18 and Android 17 fight together is making this character very unique, both in terms of the Dragon Ball character and a fighting game character as well. So we hope that users will actually get to play the game and feel that Android 17 isn't being ignored or whatever. So though we did bring up the topic about Android 18, the criteria that we have for Dragon Ball FighterZ when choosing the characters to implement is simply based on whether or not they can fight uniquely as a fighting game character. Because a lot of Dragon Ball games, basically we choose characters based on their popularity. But for Dragon Ball FighterZ, we're kind of choosing them based on their uniqueness or how they can fight in a fighting game. So we're not really focusing that much on the balance between guys or girls. So currently we are focusing on the color changes at this point of time. In the builds that we prepared for example, E3 and Gamescom, there's only 4 different colors. But in the final game, we plan to have more than 10. So in the base game, we aren't currently planning to have complete different costume changes. But we do receive a lot of voices from fans and also the press saying that, costume changes could be an option. So in our minds, though nothing is finalized, in our minds we are thinking that maybe we should consider costume changes as well.
まず e スポーツの今後の展開なんですけど、今回のゲームに関して e スポーツすごく強く意識はしているんですけれども、
So no specific details or plans have been locked down for in terms of esports or tournaments post-launch. Because what we're really focusing on right now, because we understand that esports is a fan-driven community, that what we're trying to do is really polish up the game, make the game better, so that users can decide on their own if or not if Dragon Ball FighterZ can be good enough to go esports. But like you said, we did have some tournaments back at EVO, and we are actually having a tournament at ESL tomorrow on the 25th. So we hope that users will get a chance to know whether or not if Dragon Ball FighterZ can be a part of the competitive scene.
まず、ストーリーモードに関しては、ちょっとまだ、お伝えしてきれてないのが、お伝えできないところがたくさんあるのであんまり言えないんですけれども、ギルティギアのメインモードとかストーリーだけっていうところと、戦うところだけっていうので分けてると思うんですが、ああいう形とはまたちょっと違う形にしたいなというふうに思ってます。で、どちらかというと、しかもそのストーリー、バトルストーリーっていうので、ずっとつながっていくだけのものではなくて。
So in terms of the story of Dragon Ball FighterZ, it may be a little bit different from what we have in Guilty Gear. And what we're planning to do is not make it like a simple flow where you just fight and then you see a cutscene and then you fight and then a cutscene again. We're planning to include some replayability within those scenes, I would say, within the flow or the process of the story mode, so that casual users will, and Dragon Ball fans will also be able to enjoy the story.
そうですね、まずスタイリッシュコンボに関しては今回、予定はしていないです。なので基本はみんな同じ遊び方で、共通のシステムで遊んでほしいなっていう思いがあります。でただ、じゃあそれって格闘ゲームユーザーに喜ばれないのか。
So basically, for Dragon Ball Fighters, we do plan to keep that auto combo on at all times. So there's not going to be like a stylish mode that they have for Guilty Gear. But we believe that well, the deepness of battle doesn't simply come from the complicated combos or complicated controls. So we want to create these mind games based on different places. We believe that the 3 versus 3 aspect that we have in the game, such as the Z assist, which you can use for both attack and defense, creates a good mind game aspect in the game. So we believe that this sort of feature and a number of features that we haven't been able to reveal at this point of time yet will help well, better gamers, I will say, the hardcore fighting game users enjoy the game as a fighting game as well.
そうですね。やっぱり一人キャラクターにやっぱ多少のステータスの差っていうのは。
Okay, so in terms of stats, you're right that basically we are making a difference in between, for example, Goku and Krillin, because if Krillin can simply defeat Goku with his stats, then that's not being faithful to the anime. But at the same time, if he can't do anything against Goku, then that's not going to be a good fighting game. So that's one of the reasons why we kind of decided to make the game a 3 versus 3. Well, and then a team battle, so that you won't have to actually go 1 versus 1. For example, Krillin, he may not be as strong as Goku, but he has specific and unique attacks or abilities that can recover your team members, such as throwing a Sensubin, exactly. So we believe that with the 3 versus 3 and giving different roles and abilities to different characters, we can be faithful to the anime while creating a good balance in terms of a fighting game.
ぜひちょっとユーザーに、クリリンに関しては、先頭を投げたりとかあと石を投げたりとかというような形になっています。ただ、実際プレーをしてもらっていつ、どういう時が先頭でどういう時が石かっていうのはちょっとサイクルみたいになって。
So for the senzu beans, you can actually throw them more than once. It's just that there's a cycle between the senzu and the rocks that he throws. But for this one, we kind of want players to find out for themselves the cycle that they have between the rocks and the senzu beans. One thing that we can say for Krillin is that depending on which button you press when throwing the senzu beans, when you're controlling Krillin, you can recover, you can decide which partner you want to recover.
それがですね、まだ達成が全然開発の方は絶賛続いているので、これがまだ達成したっていうところはまだそこまで終わってないので。
So to be completely honest, since we're still really busy with the development of the game, I don't feel like we accomplished anything at this point of time. But what really made us happy was that since it is a Dragon Ball game and we have the graphics that are faithful to the anime, we thought that Dragon Ball fans would be really happy with what we deliver. But what was surprising was that we are also getting a lot of positive feedback from the fighting game audience as well, which is really gives us a high motivation to keep on going. So right now, the first thing that we want to accomplish is to deliver this Dragon Ball Fighters as a high-quality Dragon Ball game and as a fighting game as well.
Yeah.